in order to remove waterslide transfers that haven't been lacquered over the top, we recommend some ferry washing up liquid, or for really old transfers, you can use some white spirit or adhesive remover, but this can damage paint, so be careful. And here is just some surface cleaner to clean the surface afterwards. A sponge, try not to use the rough side, just use the sponge side. The squeegees, we have two. We have a rigid for flat surfaces and a flexible one for curved surfaces. And then also some tap water, preferably hot water, not boiling, but warm water will help. So first step will be to get your water, your warm water, and soak your sponge. Whilst that's soaking, get your ferry washing up liquid, we'd recommend. Works quite well, and it shouldn't harm your paintwork, but always test to make sure first. And put some of the ferry washing up liquid on your sponge. Now the aim is to soak the waterslide transfers in this for, it can take sometimes 10 minutes or longer, maybe longer than that. So we're just gonna soak that on top of the design with the soap as well for a few minutes. And eventually we'll switch to some damp tissue and leave that on the transfer instead. So get some more water, keep it damp and wet. Soaking in this amount of soapy water will make the varnish layer come off from the tank. It just takes some time. As you can see, nothing is happening just yet. Just need to be quite patient. Worth noting, if you've lacquered over the transfer, this method will not work. You will need to sand down your tank and start again, repaint. So I've got some tissue now, and I'm just going to soak this in the water and leave this on top of the transfer for probably about 5 minutes. It varies depending on how old the transfer is, the design, how big it is. So just keep it damp. Use the sponge to just squeeze more water onto the tissue. So I'm not using any adhesive remover or white spirit. It won't affect this paint because it's lacquered, but it can affect some of your surfaces. I find fairy washing up liquid works just as well. So it's still not coming off just yet, so I'm just going to leave it for a few more minutes. And as you can see now, it's starting to come off. Clear varnish layer and some of the design. Some bits will come off in large amounts, some in small bits. And now I'm going to use my flexible squeegee to just try and scrape off some of that varnish layer. As you can see, it's not taking all the design up just yet, and some will take longer to come up than others. So just keep trying to peel it off and then soaking with more water and then trying to peel off again. As you can see here, you will find that some of this design will start to stick to the paintwork. Just soak it in water and it will come back off again, all these little bits. So as you can see, struggling to get much more to come off with the squeegee at the minute. So I'm going to soak it in more damp tissue for a few more minutes, and then we'll try again. You just got to be patient, do this bit by bit. It does take some time, but it will all come off fine. And if you're careful, perhaps if you're using gloves like I am, or some tissue, you can actually scrape the design off with your finger if you're careful. Obviously, just be gentle not to damage your paintwork. This is starting to come off much easier, but just rubbing over it with my finger in the tissue now. A lot of people often ask us which overcoating products to use. We recommend clear oil-based varnishes. Humber will do a few options, or yacht varnish, or two-pack clear lacquers tend to work well if you use a light mist coat and then some 30 minutes later use a full coat. Obviously, if you do lacquer over our transfers, which we do recommend because of how ethanol damages them, just bear in mind that you will have to sand down the tank to take the transfers off, repaint, re-lacquer until we can put the new transfers on again. So make sure you're happy with your transfers where they are, then lacquer them. Otherwise, you won't be able to remove the transfers without sanding down the tank. So just keep getting more water, so scrubbing slowly. And as you can see, all these little bits are coming off. We're nearly there now. You can take a heat gun to the tank. This will just help a little bit. But with these newer transfers, it's not unnecessary. So with the older transfers, it might take much longer to take them off. You may need to just keep soaking them for potentially hours. But with most transfers from us, you can get them off much, much, much quicker. And as you can see, we've pretty much got all the design off now. Just going to get rid of these small little black specks of the design, and I'll use a surface cleaner, or you can just use some more soapy water just to clean the tank down. So you can see we've pretty much got rid of all of the little specks now. And get your surface cleaner, spray the surface, rub it down with a clean cloth, and your tank should look good as new.